During the first half of the 1800s, and even through the Civil War, millions of people throughout the world left their homelands and risked their lives to make the North and West of America their new home. The immigrants chose the United States of America, and primarily the North and West, over the South due to the North's and West's inexpensive land, economic opportunities, small government, capitalism, and the idea that in America all men were created equal. In Canada, Mexico, South America, and in the South of the United States of America, capitalism and freedom were limited. Americans continued to force one immigrant group, the slave, to come to America until the importation of slavery was abolished in 1807. At that point, the United States slave population was so large that it no longer mattered. Slaves are the only immigrant group to America that did not achieve gains in society because they were not allowed their freedom in the South. Americans were united by ideas, not by national ethnic group or class. One of America's mottos, E pluribus unum, means, from many, we are one. This idea means that the United States of America is a country made up of people from all over the world and not just the home of people from England and France. People came to America because the American ideals of freedom and because in America, a person could have equal rights with everyone. In most other countries in the 1800s, a person's nationality was the most important thing in determining his allegiance. A French immigrant would not have been welcome in countries other than the United States, for example. And in most other countries, individuals had rights that depended on their class. If someone was not a nobleman, he could not own land or have political liberties. America's unique ideas attracted immigrants. Immigrants also came to America for economic opportunities. Nowhere in the world but America was there inexpensive land and laws that treated all citizens the same. Immigrants saw that in the United States of America, a person could own his own small farm and support a family. In most countries of the world, only the nobility could own land. Also, especially in northern cities, Americans needed immigrants to work in the new factories. The Industrial Revolution allowed for amazing economic opportunities for men and women, and many jobs did not require skills. Immigrants were excited to get off a boat and land a job within days. Although they struggled at first, immigrants and their children reaped long-term benefits. Immigrants to America between 1800 and 1860 mainly came from northwestern Europe, and their number increased with each decade. At the turn of the century, most immigrants came from Great Britain, including Scotland and Northern Ireland, and France. By the 1840s, Germans, Irish, and Scandinavians came in larger numbers. The number of immigrants to the United States in each decade grew. In the 1820s, it was 143,439. In the 1830s, it was 599,125. In the 1840s, it was 1,713,251. In the 1850s, it was 2,598,214. Starting in the 1840s, one of the largest immigrant groups to America was the Irish. In Ireland, a new fungus caused potatoes to rot in the fields. Because most Irish were poor and worked on potato farms owned by the English, and there was practically no other food in Ireland, approximately 1 million Irish died of starvation or disease from 1845 to 1849. Many people also believe that the English refused to send help to the Irish. The potato famine of the 1840s pushed nearly 2 million Irish to move to America in the 1840s and 1850s. In America, the Irish faced great discrimination, but eventually were accepted as Americans. The Irish had been hated by the English in Great Britain, and in America, the English Americans continued the resentment. The Irish were Catholic, and America was primarily a Protestant Christian nation. In the 1800s, people were very sensitive of the differences between the Protestant Christian and Catholic Christian faiths, and Protestant Americans did not immediately accept the Catholic Irish. Irish Catholic churches were bombed, and Irish were not hired in many jobs. The Irish settled primarily in northern cities. Like all immigrants, the first generation worked in menial jobs. The second generation took jobs in the public world, especially in fire departments and police departments. The Irish tended to vote Democratic, and political corruption seemed to follow the Irish American population. In Great Britain, the Irish had little or no respect for the official government, and in America, it was perhaps simpler for Irish Americans to be open to fraud. Tammany Hall, a Democratic political machine in New York City, helped the Irish and used illegal and unethical tactics to maintain power throughout much of the second half of the 1800s. Germans also came to America in ever-increasing numbers throughout the 1800s, in part because of problems in Europe. In Europe, Germans and the inhabitants of the Austro-Hungarian Empire lived in a monarchical system where the common person had few of the liberties available in America. Land was expensive or impossible to buy. The government did not allow political liberties. Then, in 1848, many Europeans rose up to challenge the power of the kings. European kings crushed the revolutions of 1848, and common Europeans saw it was nearly impossible to achieve the rights that Americans enjoyed. In the 1850s, 951,000 Germans came to America. German immigrants were skilled laborers and had experience in steel making, mechanics, making musical instruments, and brewing. The American brewery companies, Schlitz, Pabst, and Budweiser, were founded by German Americans. German immigrants created the famous Kentucky Long Rifle, the Conestoga wagon, the first wire cable suspension bridge to Brooklyn, and the Heinz Food Company. A large percentage of Germans moved to U.S. farmland, settling the Appalachian Valley, the Midwest, and near cities such as Cincinnati, Milwaukee, and St. Louis. Germans were the largest immigrant group to America in the 1800s.